Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so what are we talking about now? Talking about the Boston Celtics, the Los Angeles Lakers, and a game that we have today at the Staples Center, finally, a game at the Staples Center, where we can address this rivalry this season. We know the Boston Celtics, there are so many ways you can present the Boston Celtics in a Los Angeles Lakers matchup. You can present it and say about all the history of Magic and Bird. You can talk about even going back further with, the older guys like Jerry West and having to run around against, Bill Russell and all of those great Celtic Laker matchups. And now we have yet another one in place where the Lakers are coming back from a long road trip to just stay home for about 3 quick games, where they'll have to then after that go on a long road trip. And it doesn't help us that we have to run into the dang Celtics immediately after the road trip, but that's what they've given us. But they kind of balanced it out too, because the Celtics are on the tail end of their West Coast road trip in seeing us, and had a back-to-back last night with the Clippers. And that game was something, because the way that the Boston Celtics have been kind of running through the East this season, you would think they'd come to the West and still have a lot of success, but right now, they're missing Al Horford. And what I know about Al Horford is, because they're also missing Time Lord Robert Williams, they don't have a whole lot of size playing the center position. They're leaning on some guys that they don't want to lean on, and then because of it, they're just not as talented. So they're getting beat up because of it. They're very much missing Al Horford's ability to stretch the floor, get easy rebounds, just make great plays, because he's a really, really talented guy. So that's what we're going to be able to benefit from tonight. Their center position is going to be pretty much non-existent. They're running Blake Griffin at their center position. And Grant Williams, who we know are guys that can really, really produce, but we also know are no match at all for Anthony Davis, which means that they're going to have to put Jason Tatum on Anthony Davis if they want to have any shot, which means Jason Tatum and Anthony Davis are going to have to manage not playing foul trouble. So they're going to have to play off each other, which means the defense is going to be funny, which means I expect both of them to go off. Yeah, I know it's a lot, but that's exactly how it has to be, because we have run into too many situations where Anthony Davis has run into foul trouble. These last 2 games, he's picked up 2 quick fouls in the first quarter, and we've had to play him in foul trouble to manage it. Now, he didn't do well with it in one game, and we know we lost that game in Philly, for which we would love to forget. But we were able to get a victory against Detroit in that same way, where he was able to manage it much better. At the end of the day, he just has to be hyper efficient in not picking up fouls, as he's actually naturally prone to provide, because that's one of his great strengths. So if we can just get him to get tapped back into that and being hyper efficient defensively, without picking up quick and easy fouls, then we can rely upon him to be the anchor that he is for our team at this point. And so that's what it's about. It's trying to find a way to effectively maintain a good defensive wall around Jason Tatum, while effectively finding a way to keep Anthony Davis out of foul trouble. And then we have to proceed to feed him the ball regularly and not make life hard on ourselves by working the ball around unnecessarily too much. So those are the things I'm looking at for the Lakers to kind of accomplish. Small ball is a thing that tonight you can probably have more success in running than most nights, because of the fact that the Celtics are smaller. But you do understand that in them being smaller, without you having Wenyen Gabriel out there, guys like Blake Griffin and Grant Williams, Jason Tatum should very much be able to see the people that you put on him when Anthony Davis ain't on the floor. So that's what leaves you at a disadvantage. But ultimately, we should be able to be taller than him tonight if we go to our size, and be able to have more success if we don't. So I've been seeing a lot of small ball, as all of us have, and I expect to see more of it tonight. Even though we've complained about it, I don't think it's necessarily something that I expect coach to walk away from. He's very much intent on playing Dennis Schroeder and Patrick Beverley as many minutes as humanly possible, even to the detriment of the mismatches to the detriment of sizes, matchups, and things of that nature. And because we find ourselves not being able to provide ourselves as much rim protection, not being able to provide ourselves as much offensive rebounding help, defensive rebounding help, etc. But we do find ourselves being able to stay in transition a little better, keep up with them fast-footed wise, guard the perimeter a little better, but not well enough to ultimately make us a dominant basketball team, even though we have 3 Hall of Famers on the squad. So I just don't think that leaning on the smaller players makes a lot of sense for our team. So that's what we hope we will do, is not, kind of go away from that. But we still want to prepare people for what we think we'll see. So I expect to see a lot of Dennis Schroeder, a lot of Patrick Beverley, as always. So this is the deal. Kawhi Leonard beat the dog living crap out of the Clippers last night. It was ugly. He was the best player on the floor by far. It wasn't close. He only missed 2 shots. He was efficient. It was unbelievable how he carved them Celtics up. PG did the same thing. This is relevant because the Celtics are having a hard time guarding people who are really, really talented right now. And we have Anthony Davis, who's capable of putting up the best numbers in the league today. So if we lean on him, they cannot guard him. And I respect Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum's a guy who actually wouldn't mind putting on Anthony Davis in certain situations, especially if he has a big enough help defender. But I know better than to think that he's going to just get a bunch of stops on Anthony Davis. He's not. Nobody is. Nobody is. Just like I don't expect a lot of people to get a lot of stops on Jason Tatum. Now, here's the thing. I got a chance to see a lot of Boston Celtics basketball in the playoffs last year. They've made some changes to that roster for sure, especially since they brought in Malcolm Brogdon, who's basically an all-star level point guard when he's healthy. Blake Griffin, of course, who's also there. Those are 2 pieces that make their continuity infinitely better than it was last year. They have natural passers on the floor that should make plays more easy, make scoring come much easier. And that's what they've done because they've added those playmakers. And now they've went from being one of the best defensive teams in the world last year to the best offensive team this year. They're putting up 122 points a game or something like that. They can score a lot. But the problem is without Al Horford down there to help with that, now they're leaning on guys like Cornette. And it's one of those things when if you look at the stats, when Cornette is efficient, they've won. When Cornette is not efficient or when they can't get anything out of him, they lose. Now, I don't know if that directly correlates to what is going on. It's just what you're going to see in the stats. So, yeah, that's what it is, man. The last time they really had a really good game was against the Phoenix Suns where they went 128 or something to 90-something against the Phoenix Suns about 3 games ago. And essentially what I saw there was just them launching threes. It was, the stats told me that they launched a lot and they were able to connect. And Phoenix just kind of had a flat game. We saw the highlights of it. They were just flat. So it's one of those situations where it's like the Boston Celtics have had some tough losses on this road trip with the Clippers. And then, of course, the Golden State Warriors. We talked about that earlier this week, where they went into Golden State and Jonathan Kuminga dunked on Jason Tatum, and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson went off a bunch of points and all kinds of different stuff that made it look like the Celtics were starting to fall. But the reality is it's just they cannot function properly without Al Horford. And Robert Williams, of course, who's going to be coming back very soon, but not tonight. Thank God for that. So this is one of those situations where I'm looking at our team and I'm like, all right, Lakers, once again, we're running into a Cleveland-like, Toronto-like, situation where these teams, they're not themselves right now. Even though we know they're really good, they're not in the greatest of stretch as we speak. And because they're tired on this road trip coming off the back-to-back undersized, and half of their team is not productive for them right now. Because if you look on that bench, because they're missing these pieces, they really do have some scrubs that they're leaning on. I'm not going to hold you guys. We're going to see some guys tonight in that Celtic uniform. You're going to be like, for real? But that's what it is. They're just kind of depleted because of these injuries. I think the thing that really was something that you want to see duplicated tonight is the struggles of the others on the Celtics. If the Lakers can play good defense against those other guys and force Jason Tatum into a volume score, maybe we can have it so that his natural inefficiencies can work in our favor. Because that's what it is. Jason Tatum be bricking a lot of shots. People don't really talk about it like that, but that boy be bricking a lot. So it's one of those situations where you just want to kind of turn him into a jump shooter and hope that's the kind of night he's having. The Jason Tatum that I like is a playmaker. When he's looking to pass first, and then from there, when other people get involved, he starts finding his jump shot that way based on rhythm. After that, he's impossible to beat, literally impossible to beat. But if he's looking to get his shot first and is not looking to make plays for others, Jason Tatum usually is not as effective a basketball player. And thus the Celtics don't win as much. So that's something Stephen A. said this morning. I'm going to second that as well. When the Jason Tatum struggles, they struggle. Now, here's the deal. We haven't mentioned Jaylen Brown. And that is not something that I'm going to let happen for much longer. Jaylen Brown is one of the best shooting guards in the game. I think he is. Simply put, he was somebody that I really think is just as good as Jason Tatum, and I've always said that. But he does have some things he needs to work on, including his ball handling last year, which really showed up ugly in the playoffs. He just was barely able to put the ball on the ground half the time because dealing with those guys like Gary Payton and stuff like that, it just made it impossible for him. They really did a good job on him in the playoffs, in the finals, rather, the Warriors did. And I think that's a recipe for success. We got to put people on him. We got to make it so that he has fast-footed players guarding him as he drives. He's going to get calls, so we know he's going to the line, but we are going to have to keep fast enough people on him. In other words, I know I'm a big fan of Patrick Beverley, and I know Coach is going to be intent on putting Patrick Beverley on Jaylen Brown. I know Patrick Beverley can make life hell for Jaylen Brown, but he's going to get shot over. He's not tall enough. He's talented enough to stay with him, but he's not tall enough, and it's a bad matchup. So I don't even want us to try that. Austin Reeves, I love what Austin's doing, but I don't want Austin Reeves being put on an island with Jaylen Brown, bro. He's not going to have success. He's going to do his best. He's going to probably draw a few offensive fouls, but Jaylen Brown's going to cook. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. So it's like we gotta figure something out. Maybe Lonnie Walker can kind of help us there. He's fast enough, but he's not a talented enough defender to keep up with nobody like Jaylen Brown. So that's really what it comes down to. The Lakers need to find some wing defenders, because dynamic players like Jaylen Brown are going to be able to cook and eat against all of the guys we put in front of them. Guys like Troy Brown, we saw how that went. We put him on the East Coast road trip. A couple of those games, he was just getting blown past. I mean, Donovan Mitchell just left that boy like he was standing still. I mean, it's like we can't get away with putting some of these guys that we rely upon in front of players like that. We can't. And we're forced to. And this is another reason why I want us to call up Scottie Pippen Jr. Because Scottie Pippen Jr. is a guy who is fast enough and defensively talented enough to be able to develop into the player that can actually have some success in those situations. Now, he ain't there yet, obviously. But you got to get him started so that he can become that, and we're just taking it slow with him in the G League while we actually need what he does. So this is one of them situations where it's like, if we would have been playing him the whole time, he'd probably be a regular rotating player right now, probably a good rookie for us at this point. But we're so hesitant to play rookies because we're so in love with playing vets that actually are not as good enough as we need them to be. So that's my thing. It's like, okay, I believe in developing players in the G League and taking your time with guys. Scottie Pippen's going to be a starter for us probably 2 years from now, so it's going to be fine. But the problem is we need him now. It's the same way I felt about Jalen Smith in Phoenix. Like, you're sitting there, you need what he does. Yes, he's going to be Jalen Smith in Indiana 3 years from now like he is right now, but he could have helped you the same way in small spurts if you'd have just gave him the minutes in the finals when you didn't have nobody. Like, these are the things I just want teams to understand. It's like, yeah, young players can get hurt. Young players don't have their conditioning in place a lot of times, so they probably blow a knee out or something if they try to do too much too soon. I get that. But if you bring them along slowly with the intention of increasing while helping them with everything they need to do, if you work on a rookie early in the season intently, by the time the end of the season comes around, he'll probably be somebody who can help you if he didn't get hurt. And so it's like, he's going to hit the rookie wall and all of that. All of those things are understood, but at the end of the day, you need sometimes to just allow yourself to lean on the young players that happen to be dynamic as the players you're going against, instead of leaning on guys who are not as dynamic because they're older. It's just not really going to help you at all. So that's where I'm at. I want to see us lean on those guys. Bring Pippen back up. Lean on Max Christie a bit more. And don't overreact to his mistakes, because he's a young player who needs to make mistakes in order to learn from them. So he has to be able to be on the floor after making those mistakes in order to do so. So that's one of them type of situations. I want us to go to Max Christie because he's got size, bro. Because he literally defends very well from side to side. Because if anybody I'm willing to put on Jaylen Brown on this roster, it's probably him. Believe it or not. And I know that's like not, he's going to get cooked too, but like, he's the one fast enough. He's the one with the length. He's the one that's going to be strong enough someday to be able to put on him. He's the one that has the skill set to put on him. That's what I'm saying. It's like we just don't use these players because I guess, we got that old mindset, vets first. Vets can help us. Vets great, man, but in spurts, just like young players. Not to be leaned on as if they're John Stockton. Okay? Patrick Beverley is not John Stockton, fam. Seriously. That's what I'm at with it. And Dennis Schroeder and Gary Payton or what have you. Let's please lean on Troy Brown, Wenyen Gabriel. Well, obviously not tonight, but all the young players that have played on this team a little more than we lean on the guys that we've been leaning on, and I think we'll be much, much more effective of a basketball team. And who is on the floor with whom is something that needs to be studied a lot on this roster as well. Sometimes we put players on the floor with guys that just cannot help them succeed, and then when they struggle, we approach it as if they struggled by themselves. Now they were struggling because they were on the floor with him and him. Can't win that way. And so that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that everybody's in a lineup that they can succeed in. And if they're not going to be in those lineups, don't assess them as if they're struggling without that being present. So that's something I want us, the Lakers, continue to work on. Now, last game against the Detroit Pistons, obviously we talked a lot about that. Jalen Duren had a lot of rebounds, man. That's really what stood out for me when I look back on that game. All that other stuff was. But the one thing that we really couldn't do nothing about was him rebounding the ball. So the way I see it is they don't have anybody like that on their team necessarily, but Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can still pull down even more boards than him. So we're going to have to understand that. Keep Jason Tatum off the boards. Box that man out, put a body on him, make him feel stuff. Because at the end of the day, if he's able to jump around, pull the ball off the rim, take it coast to coast, dunk the ball, he's going to find rhythm quick and he's going to send us home. I know it. I've seen it enough times. You got to make sure that he's not initiating the offense. Because like I said, a facilitating Jason Tatum is the best version of Jason Tatum. So keep his butt off that rim. So that's what I want to see, man. Anthony Davis is going to have to do a great job on that, and coach is going to have to allow Thomas Bryant to play since we can really take advantage of that. Blake Griffin from behind the arc is to be taken very seriously because I've watched him hit three-point shots his entire career, set shots where he catches and shoots and all. He's been doing that his entire career at a very high level. He's a triple-double threat at all times, and I think he's the type of dude who's going to want to come into Staples Center after getting beat by his own team, the Clippers, and try to take it out on us if possible, have a game in his life or something like that. Keep an eye on Blake Griffin. I know what he can do, and he doesn't have to be He does not have to be athletic to be highly effective. He was always a good continuity passer and shooter. So that's what I know about Blake Griffin. That's why it works, because he's one of them dudes whose game didn't necessarily need. He didn't need to stay able to jump and all of that stuff. People don't give Blake Griffin's fundamental game enough credit because he's always been very fundamentally offensively sound. One of the more efficient power forwards I've enjoyed and appreciated over the years. He just played for the damn Clippers and the Celtics and all these other teams that I can't stand. But I really do like BG a lot. And it's one of them situations where it's like we got to deal with him. The older version of BG, an older version of Al Horford, even though I was not playing, we know that. But that's what makes the Celtics so damn dangerous. When you look at them two old vets over there and you realize what their skill set is, what are they going to do? Be hyper efficient and hyper helpful on the offensive end. Brogdon, same thing. Like, they really did a fantastic job of adding certain pieces to this unit to make them significantly better than they were last year offensively. So when they get the Time Lord back, too bad for them they didn't have Gallinari able to play this season, because he's another piece that's supposed to be imagined in this situation, supposed to be able to help them, who would have tremendously. So it's not like they don't have enough if they're fully healthy. They're just not fully healthy. Marcus Smart hasn't been mentioned yet, and he needs to be. Why? Because he was the Defensive Player of the Year last year. However, he only had like 3 points last night. He needs to account for scoring. If he's going to pull a Patrick Beverley, then that's going to help us. So we have got to keep him a non-scorer. If he's up for the 20-point, 18-point game, he probably lost. So we got to just be mindful that he's somebody that you just understand that he's not an offensive player, but he's had great offensive games. I've seen games where he's gone for 6 threes. He can do it. Same thing with Grant Williams. Grant Williams in a Game 7 against the Milwaukee Bucks hit 7 or was it 8 threes? All he did was shoot threes and make them all. And this is a defensive player that's not supposed to be accounted for any scoring at all. That's why the Boston Celtics are also so dang dangerous, because they have big play ability and players that they don't rely upon at all. And they can call on them at a given moment to give them that production. And so that's what you know about. If Grant Williams is in the corner on the left side shooting threes and he hits a few of them, he can do it all night, so you better cover him. Don't think this won't be another DeAnthony Melton. He can do that exact thing, minus the assist. So that's what I know about Grant Williams, and he's an infinitely better defender. So you have to account for the fact that he's a two-way player that's going to hurt you. He's a guy who I think is just one of the best young defenders alive. So you have to account for him when he's on the floor. So yeah, man, that team is the truth. I do believe that they're the leading favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference. I got them right now, but they're just in a bad stretch, and until they get those guys back, it's going to be tough. And if they're relying upon those guys all season, the Blake Griffins, Al Horford, they may not make it through the season. They may not. So I think the Boston Celtics may be wise to make a trade, try to get a John Collins or Kyle Kuzma or something like that. I really think they should try to do that, because they just need that Gallinari piece that they had imagined in their system. It's missing. So that's what I see there. But Malcolm Brogdon, we have to mention him. He can go off, man. That's another player. It's like, Jesus Christ. You add that to what they have. Malcolm Brogdon is capable of giving you 25, 10 assists, and 8 rebounds, 5 steals. The thing about Malcolm Brogdon we're going to have to respect is that, like THT, he has special arm and hand metrics. He has extra long arms, extra long, big hands. So when you're dealing with a guy like that, playing in the passing lanes, you see his height, and you're like, oh, I can take chances. Do not. He's another one of them dudes like them Sacramento King dudes that can get out in transition and make plays for others, hit threes and all kinds of other crap. All-star level stuff. He's damn near impossible. Derek White. The reason why Malcolm Brogdon isn't necessarily being the full version of Malcolm Brogdon is because they have Pritchard and White also taking away minutes from him, just like we got with our guards, eating away from our guys. It's the exact same dynamic. So hopefully that they can cancel each other out by not playing so much together, or not. Well, I guess we do want them down there together if they're going to play small ball, and we are too. But, it's one of those situations where they don't do that, okay? They don't lean on their two small guys because they're talented. They play the Cornets. They play the other guys so that their size matchups can make sense, like I want us to do. So that's the thing to know about the Celtics. They can very easily lean on Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon the same way we lean on Patrick Beverley and Dennis Schroeder. In fact, they got a better version of that over there with those guys, in my opinion. So that's something that they just don't do, and this is what it is. So yeah, keep an eye on Derek White. That's the point. When Derek White plays well, they play well. Derek White tends not to play well on the road. That's the thing. He's had a pretty trash road trip, to be honest. And so that's just part of it. It's like you don't know what you're going to get from Derek White from night to night. He's very inconsistent on his team. Some nights he's the best player in the world. Some nights he's nobody. And you just have no idea. So you just got to keep an eye on him, play it by ear, and react to him as he starts getting hot or cold accordingly. So that's what it is, man. It's too many wild factors on this team. Too many guys that can do big things, and you just don't know which one's going to kill you. And so trying to defend against them or game plan against them, it's like, how do I know what to cover? How do I know this ain't a Marcus Smart night? He wants to go for 35. How do I know that? It's very capable of that. Or a guy like Jaylen Brown. What if Jaylen Brown wants to have a significantly impressive evening? He goes for 40 tonight. Perfect. 50. Perfectly capable. Jason Tatum, unprecedented numbers. Perfectly capable. Brogdon, triple-double with 30 points. Perfectly capable. I mean, it just goes on and on with the big play possibilities of the various talented players on this team. Even Derek White can drop 30 on you. So it's like, that's why I think they're ultimately the team to beat in the Eastern Conference, because they just got too much big play players, and trying to guard against that is like, which one is it? Is it going to stay that way? If Jaylen Brown is playing great in the first quarter, how do I know he ain't going to cool off and now I need to switch my defense to deal with Jason Tatum because now he's going off? It's like, that's how they can attack. But we can too. What did Austin Reeves do in this last game? He hit a game winner, hit a bunch of shots. He's been doing some good things on the road trip, even though he's a little inconsistent. He's ended the road trip strong the last couple games. I've been pleased with him, as we all have, with that game winner. Even though he missed that free throw against Philadelphia 76ers, we haven't forgotten nothing. But nevertheless, we know we have to do better in that way. Lonnie Walker hitting shots left and right on this road trip, even though he also kind of found himself with a little injury leg thing. He's overcome and he's shooting himself right back into his high efficiency ways. So him in the open court is so incredibly dynamic. It's like a little Braun out there watching him catch the ball from half court and take like 3 dribbles and fly. It's just a supreme luxury that I want us to lean on even more. Lonnie Walker flying at the rim, laying the ball up is more effective than Russell Westbrook going to the rim, laying the ball up. LeBron, no. Russell, yes. He is. He connects better. He's more explosive at this point. So I want us to try to continue to use that. And I want to see us use them together. Because that type of athleticism on the floor with LeBron James, we need to be hyper athletic sometimes. Russell Westbrook, Lonnie Walker, and LeBron James should be on the floor sometimes together for that fast break situation, which takes me to my next point. The Boston Celtics had one single fast break point against the Clippers. How does that even work? If 1 point is accumulated in a free throw, how the hell did they get 1 point in transition? How does it even work? I don't know, but that's what the stats say. In other words, they didn't get out in transition. They didn't have no fast break points as far as I can tell, which means that's something that we need to take advantage of tonight. Do not turn the ball over against this team, and they're not going to do too much running. Put some fast-footed players on the floor, and they may not want to run. Now, they do have lineups on the floor that can obviously run. In fact, they got some lineups on the floor they can outrun us with. But if that's how they're going to play, take advantage of it. I don't think Blake Griffin really wants to run like that. I don't think so. He don't want to be speedy. And when they have to put the guys that come in after Blake Griffin on the floor, that's when we flex. They can't ball like that. So we'll take advantage of that if possible, but we still understand that we're going up against a duo that was in the NBA, a trio, quad that was in the NBA Finals last year, in Williams, Smart, and of course Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Best defensive team last year, best offensive team this year, which means they can kill you on both sides of the floor consistently all game long if they're doing what they're supposed to do. But they're on the road, they're tired, it's the second game off of back-to-back. I don't even know if all their guys are going to play tonight. They probably think they're going up against a Laker team, because we are, But the good thing about it is, right now, they're in. So that means we're eye to eye with them. And what does that also mean? It's the Kobe minute, so we salute. Someone who also did not like the Celtics at all. I'm pretty sure he's rooting for us from heaven right now. And I'm telling you right now, we need to honor that by making sure that he wins the bet against Bill Russell right now. We love you, Bill. Kobe going to win that bet. That's what I'm going to tell you right now. We got to win this game. Anytime we see the Celtics, it's our birthright to beat this team. I tell you, it's the truth. I don't have as much fire in my belly as I usually do with playing the Celtics. It just didn't land on that type of day for me. But I'm telling you, it's real. We got to beat this team for real. We have got to make sure that they feel us. because at the end of the day, they have taken more from us than they have given us. I tell you, you look at the finals records against the Celtics, it's utterly embarrassing. So we have got to maintain and understand that they are the favorite to win the Eastern Conference this year, and we have tied them for championships for the first time in 50 years, a couple years ago. We do not want them passing us up, and we need to make sure that anytime we can put them in positions to doubt themselves, that we're the ones doing it. One thing that pissed me off yesterday was watching the Clippers arena with all that damn green in it. And granted, the Clippers don't have no fans, so obviously it's going to be a bunch of green there. But the point is that our building was infested with green jerseys all up and down. Which is why I want us to represent today, because this is a Laker game. And I know those Celtics are probably they're looking at it like a rare occasion where their team's in town for 2 days straight. So they probably bought tickets for this game too. Drown them out. Do not let that place look like a green infestation of boogers everywhere. This is a purple and gold arena, and we do not deal with Celtics on any level of positivity. So we're absolutely clear. We want them to lose every game they play, including when they play the Clippers. So that was very nice seeing Kawhi Leonard do something that I can support. Once, in the bluest of moons, he tore them up, and it was a pleasure to watch. So with that being said, I do not want to have a situation where they're taking that out on us. We need to continue to make them understand that the city of Los Angeles don't like them no matter what colors we're wearing. Even the Clippers hate them, so do we. So it's one of the situations where they need to have back-to-back losses in our building. That's what needs to happen. We need to send them back home, the same losers that the rest of these California teams have been sending them. The Warriors whooped on them. The Clippers whooped on them. It is our turn. And we're the ones that deserve to win the most against them for obvious reasons. So let's go out and beat this team. They're putting them Luke Cornetts and all, they squash them guys. I want Anthony Davis to have 50 points tonight on this team. Why? Because you are a Laker. And they are the Celtics, and it is your birthright to destroy them, as I said. It is your legacy, Laker core. When you face this team twice, we're always going to look and see how you did them. Know that. This might be the most important game of your season if you're trying to establish yourself as a real Laker. Because beating them is of the utmost importance every season. So let's make that very clear, man. It's not even hate. Hate don't describe it. It's not a strong enough word. It's our job to beat them. So let's do it. That's what I got to say, man. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching.